Hear ye, hear ye. Tonight, live and in living color, is the 100th episode of the esteemed Jawn. I remember when we first started, the motion picture industry ridiculed us as a poor man's cinema, a startup fancy with no chance of survival in the entertainment industry. The Vegas odds were heavily against us, even making it through the first week. Now we proudly stand, or actually sit, before you as titans in our chosen field, the humble conservationists. We have provided hundreds of inaccurate medical suggestions, dozens of song titles identified incorrectly, a broom closet full of debunked folklore, and an array of misleading starts and stops about subjects we know next to nothing about. Some may call us quacks, but I'll take a good quack over a bottle of rot gut whiskey any day of the week. All in all, we've had a good time. A cheery, down-home goodness of Kyle's simple but from the heart tales, Nathan's beautiful songs and road stories to light the fire of adventure under even the most closeted of souls, Steve's scientific knowledge and clear-headed views on subjects as varied as love in the mountains to the feeding habits of the local squirrel population terrorizing the park. We have done what we set out to do. Chronicle our journey, brothers in arms, all for one and one for all. From this point on, the sailing will be for the record books. 100 episodes. We've done it. Let our past shows guide you onward as you dash devilishly beside us as we tread ever so merrily along the paths before us. Have fun and love. Love, 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 love. Find something or someone to love. Let your hearts sing. Now get ready for episode 100. We can't even believe it ourselves.
Frog sitting on a log, one of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabberjaw, 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 Jabberjaw. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabberjaw, 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 Jabberjaw.
So I'm blowing the big end, or a hum in it. What do I do?
Oh, is that us? Look, hey, from here it looks better than ever. We are finally figuring this show out, folks. Welcome to Jabberjawn. I'm Nathan Moore.
I'm Kyle Hogg.
I'm Steve Moore.
So good to have you here with us tonight for our 100th episode. I just can't even believe it. There's confetti in here. Oh, and by the way, that is a piñata, but I'm not exactly sure how we can bust that thing open without doing serious damage to either one of us or the basement in general. But there's also a stick here.
Are there hornets in it?
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Oh, I never heard of that move. Piñata full of hornets. Man, there's an idea.
The kids had the best
Someone
time.
out there is like light bulb is visibly above their head.
They're going like this.
Exactly. So we always start with an arriving song and end with a leaving song. I'm gonna. Kether had a fun idea of taking my song the first 1,000 times and changing it to the first 100 times. Apropos. That's the right word, right? Apropos.
All right, conductor, I'm going to take care of this.
What's that?
The conductor has to cue us in. He's ignoring me.
Sure, they're flattered now by imitation. Sure, they read to find outside the lines. Sure takes a while to get a reputation. You should have seen them the first 100 times. Sure, they're doing backflips on the high wire. Sure, they're on the trapeze almost flying. Sure, they're up there leaping lines of fire. But you should have seen them the first 100 times. 100 times the magician broke his thread.
100 times.
100 times the poet made no sense.
100 times.
100 times the painter seeing red.
100 times.
Oh, 100 times, I'm telling you, 100 times. Sure, she dances graceful as the sun sets. Sure, she's up there up against the moonshine. A perfect pirouetting silhouette. But you should have seen her the first 100 times. 100 times the magician broke his thread.
100 times.
100 times the poet made no sense.
100 times.
100 times the painter seeing red.
100 times.
Oh, 100 times, I'm telling you, 100 times. Yeah, y'all did great.
Oh, I wish y'all could have seen our conductor over here. Oh my gosh.
Helps to have a
The
conductor.
passion, the absolute commitment and passion to get us to sing on cue.
You know, there's a famous story or idea in the art world. We maybe have talked. One thing that's true about the next 100 episodes, we will be talking about everything we talked about in the first 100 again, because none of us remembers what we've talked about in the first 100. So we're just not going to worry about that. If we are, if we are repeating ourselves, it's just an opportunity to say it better
That's right.
next time.
We thought about it more.
But this idea that the 10,000 hours, have y'all heard of this concept? That it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of any craft. You ever heard that concept, Doug?
Yes, I've heard it from you.
From me.
I've heard that from you too. We must have discussed it before.
What did we say? Is that true?
You
Did we figure it out?
Well, that's the good thing about having 100 on record, is you can go back and see if you're being consistent. Because, you know, when you start coming out with a completely different opinion and nothing has changed, then that might be an interesting observation.
I would almost guarantee you that we've been consistent in contradicting ourselves.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I feel like we're pretty consistent souls, but we're also not like ideologues or convicted. We can all be swayed by a charming breeze.
Well, yeah, things change, and you can learn a different angle, and you can learn that you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened to me quite often lately.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, what we are is predictor machines, and you know, I think the idea of survival is those who are the best predictors make it longer in the natural world. And I'm just wondering why the hell I'm still here. I've been missing it right and left here lately.
Nobody predicted that.
Exactly.
That definitely rang that bell in my head when you said we're predictor machines, but then when I try to apply it to myself, I wonder what that really means. I'd like to think the practice is something like that, like I'm trusting the process, or I don't know, that there's some.
Well, definitely.
But on the other hand, I mean, who knows? Like, I'm not sure that there's any precision to it, or like obvious. It's I don't know. If I try to identify as a predicting machine, just what it is I think I'm predicting, I wouldn't necessarily be able to put a name on it.
Why?
I mean, I know that you would think, like, if you're practicing a sport, you're trying to get better at it. I'm not sure art works like that.
Well, you're trying to do something no one else has done in a unique way.
Or at least something I've never done.
Well, or something that you can say I did, and whether someone else did it already, that's really not that important.
But there's definitely always going to be this, like, I'll hear some old recording or something, and I'll be like, oh man, I had such a fire then, or you know, like I'd like to say that I'm trying to get better than I've ever been before, but that's the thing that I'm now sort of contradicting, that I don't know if that's actually possible. You can be different than you've ever been before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to be real careful with that, because you're comparing yourself now as a mature adult to a young whippersnapper that was full of all kinds of stuff you don't even have anymore.
Right.
And
I was that young whippersnapper for a long time.
Yeah, and he's probably still in there, and I hope he is, but that he's not in charge anymore, at least most of the time. So, but you're expecting to be a different product now at your age, and so I don't know that it's correct to want to go back to that. Whether you're talking about your music or your life or who you were, too many of us, when you say make America great again, you're really saying make it when I was in high school again.
Right.
When I was cool, you know, or something, you know, or when I had a job where I was in power. Now I have a job where I'm not. That was when America was great.
And when you saw the world through that coolness with your rose-colored eyes.
Yeah, well, you were a younger version of the world and saw everything different.
Everything was promise.
Yeah.
Possibility.
America was great back then, even though it wasn't.
Right.
Because, in retrospect, I'm pretty, you know, at this age, what are you going to do new? And that's, you know, the basis of a lot of things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're trying to do is, to me, like aging the wine more than it is making new bubbles. That's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not
That's
bad.
very good.
Somebody write that down and send it to
Yeah, that might be good for 101.
Somebody write that on Discord so we can remember.
I just made that up.
You know, it's funny when y'all were having that conversation as I was going to get your water, and I was like, oh, we should have talked. We don't talk about it now. We should talk about it during the show. And my panic there is for some reason, that initial conversation is always more interesting than when we try to reenact it. Or like, let's have that same conversation that we had before the show, during the show. Every time we've tried that, And I don't even understand it, because you would think that we'd be savvy enough to like remember what were the good lines we've already thought. We should have a head start the next time, but we don't. It's like so diminished in such an interesting way.
I've had an interesting experience similar to that with this program. And when I'm sat home and try to figure out something I want to promote or I want to talk about, or I want to do a spiel, or I want us to talk about that. And if I overthink that at home, it just doesn't work here. It's better.
It doesn't happen the way you imagined it.
It's
and you're
not.
immediately...
It doesn't have that walking cred. But part of it's because I've already used up some of the creativity at home, and it's not wide open anymore. And I'm projecting or predicting that it wants in a direction I want it to go. When the real beauty of what we're doing here is that the reason we keep coming back, I believe, is we don't really know what each other's going to say next.
Right.
If I've got you figured out, I don't really need to see you anymore.
Yeah, you probably even like go so far as to, and I'm sure Kyle will say this, and Nathan will say this or whatever, and then I'll say, and none of that happens.
Right.
Kyle doesn't say that.
Yeah.
I don't say
No,
that.
you can't trust Kyle to say the right thing ever. Damn boy, he'll say weird stuff.
It's actually been a weakness of mine over the as a storytelling troubadour. Some of my favorite heroes in that regard. You really realize that they tell the same story every night, and I've never been able to do that. And I think the reason that is because, like, if I say something really funny at a show, or I tell a story in a really charming way, I think part of the charm is the energy of me surprising myself.
Right.
Like, that has an energy to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I just thought of that. And like that those firing synapses have a little bit of a contagious energy to them.
Right.
Or if I say something that's funny to me for the first time and I'm surprising myself, I laugh a little harder because I've never thought it before. And that energy is a little contagious or profound or whatever the funny, profound, whatever it is. I go to the next show the next night and try to do it again. Dead. It's just dead.
Right.
And I mean, I probably have to do it 100 times to work past that if I wanted to be Todd Snyder or Arlo Guthrie or, you know, any of my storytelling troubadour heroes. I've had moments at my shows where I've been that funny and told that good of a story that set the song up brilliantly. Like I've dipped my toe into the pool of being able to possibly be a really good storytelling, humorous troubadour, except for that dilemma that I can't ever tell the same story twice, especially not night after night.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I identify what you're saying. Seeing a performer, and I know you have, of how inspired people can get listening to a good story lead into a song.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you hear them, and they have that, well, what they're doing is acting.
Mm-hmm.
They're emoting. They're creating that moment from before. So they're actors.
They really, with a script.
And what you're doing is saying, I can't act.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do it spontaneously in myself. And it's not that acting is wrong. It's just a different way of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the same as what. So I think there's got to be some truth to that.
Mm-hmm. I always have been a little mad at myself that I didn't have more patience and work through that a little bit better.
Yeah,
Greg Brown was another great hero of mine that was just brilliant at that. And when you see them live, you're just like, God, this guy is extemporaneously so brilliant. But then you see them the next night and they say the exact same thing.
Right.
But maybe also, like, once the great storytellers, they'll treat their stories like it's a piece of music and tell the story like it's jazz. So they're following the script of the notes on the sheet of music, but right here they still have those synapse firings of like a little twist on that line or a different rhythm to how they say it, or a new little analogy. They're wise enough to infuse it with some little sparks of spontaneity to give it that immediate energy as well. So there's always a little something different each time they tell it, where they get it's well played.
But I guess teaching is like that sort of.
I was
wasn't
wondering
it?
if that was true. Did you have like a way that you found to teach a certain thing that you would always use, or would it change?
I saw little gimmicks that worked for certain situations, but I also had a lot of spontaneity. And a lot of that I just equated as not being able to remember.
Right.
I got
Hell, I
something
did
really
it.
funny to tell y'all, but I just can't remember right now.
I know it. I really did it well that last week, but I can't remember. But no, I think there's definitely, after you teach for a few years, it's like anything else you do. If you're going every night after night and having the same level of audience and everything, you get to read your audience and you get to figure out what's going to happen, so you can plan a program for it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you go out to a show, if you go like you used to do, go to a bar and pay, they pay you to draw some people in, every night's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
A different crowd, they're going to be wanting to hear different things, and you're going to be different. So, but if you're just doing a concert stage and you walk out, it's just like a stage. That's exactly what you're doing. You're acting on stage.
Right.
There's a lot, definitely, I've never even thought about that, but there's a lot more chaos involved in whether, if you're playing bars, that kind of, which you do for decades.
Sure.
A lot of bands never get past it. The idea that you're playing to a quiet, seated audience, to where now these acting chops, I bet if I just did that more, I bet if I had years under my belt of playing theaters or something, I would have developed more scripted storylines, because you're not like ducking flying bottles and stuff, metaphorically or literally. There's something of seat of the pants about playing in the chaos of just a joint.
Now, I'd like to get your viewpoint on this, because my opinion of your way you do your work is it's always spontaneous in a way that's very creative, that you don't ever go down that organized path. Am I right or wrong?
I wish I could. No, I pretty much have like when I write that stupid thing, I just write the first line and it's just open the gate. Let's see what comes out.
The first line's the trickiest part.
But when y'all were talking about that, I was thinking today, my mom had to have some minor surgery. Everything's cool. But when we left, she said she felt sorry for these nurses and the helpers have to just say the same thing. Stay in bed, do this, do that. And so when the woman read all this stuff and was like, don't be cutting grass, don't go out there with the lawnmower, don't, have a chainsaw. And then she gave me the paperwork, and I'm reading it. And I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm thinking, that's that poor woman's way of just, she can't just, her brain would go dead if she had to read it every time. So probably every person she has, she just throws something different in there. Don't go out and pave the road. Don't go out, build a house. It's like you said, just they get into a routine, but then just to keep it fresh and something, they have to think of something else to say. Because I was like, man, does it really say don't cut the grass? And I read the whole thing, and that was not in there. But it's just like she's just God, I've read this. I've worked
It's
here.
just like a human connection at that point.
Yeah.
If you're just reading this script, or
Right.
like throwing in the cutting grass, it is like this. It's like this
Right.
energy of tendrils connecting.
And
or
it's just
something.
keeping her. It's like she probably reads that 100 times a day. She's been doing it for 10 years. Just like, oh my God, if I have to say this one more time, I'm gonna go hang myself in the back. So she just throws in. But I thought that was sort of cool. I didn't even really think about it till y'all were mentioning. Like she's got her script. Like you said, you just think of something new. Like, whoever she's looking at, something. I mean, she knows my mom's gonna cut the grass. So. Well, I'm sort of looked at her. I won't be doing that. Woman would probably be like, yes, I scored one.
I gotta say, I guess my experience is a little limited, but in my limited experience, it seems like a vast majority of nurses are incredible people. I would say the same thing for teachers. I don't know if the averages are the same, but just I've almost never. I mean, if you get a bad one, there's nothing worse than that. But at the same time, it's just so commendable.
Well, most of them have a good reason for what they do. The background of why they're doing it is awfully good. Yeah, because those are service industries, and just like a firefighter, and policemen, and there are really good, outstanding, good reasons why you become that in the first place. So
that
part
has
of
a
what
lot to do with the outcome, I guess.
and what you get. But there are always going to be bad actors. There are ones that are just bad because they're incompetent, and then there are those that are bad because they're using it for something of their own.
Right. Right.
So you got to be aware of all that. But for the most part, those are good service industries, and good people are attracted to them because they enjoy helping people.
It's so impressive to me because I know they.
But I feel the same way about nurses. Every time I've been to the hospital, I've always been taken care of very nicely.
I just don't understand how they deal with like the trauma and the loss and all that stuff. I mean, when my mom was at the thing today, there was one of my old. You remember Miss Wells, Buzz, or Weller, Miss Weller?
Oh yeah.
Her husband was out there, and I mean, I don't really know the guy, but my mom introduced me, and then she went to have her stuff done. I was talking to him. I mean, he just told me some stories. He left. I'm sitting there in the waiting room crying because he was like, he wasn't doing well, and his surgery didn't go well. I sit down. I'm just sitting in this chair, like crying. Like, these women have to see, or not women, but they were all women there this time. They have to see that every single day and deal with it. Like some guy just walking out of there with a head hung down low, and like, man, that's gotta hit you though at some point. Like, I wonder if they just get in their car every day.
It's so
and
much to
just,
process to have to tell people such terrible news, or be the person there when someone loses somebody else, or like it's just such a amazing skill set to develop.
But sometimes I think they're the most callous people in the world. Oh, that's too bad, or they're just so compassionate. They just, absorb. They try to take in what you're suffering and take it home with them. Yeah, I don't know how they do that.
Can you hear Dad okay? Is his lapels sort of
Oh yeah,
over
he's
the
sounding great.
Oh, good.
And we're getting a lot of love in the chat. by
Oh,
the way,
I haven't
folks.
even looked at the chat.
Oh yeah, we got people left and right.
Oh,
Stephanie
great.
Spencer, happy 100. 100, woot woot, congratulations. Hard to believe it's been 100 already. Such a great show to look forward to each week. Thanks, Christiana. I mean, just a lot of love. And then we got somebody named Lex Grayson Park. Congratulations on 100 episodes. Love all you guys. Hola from Peru.
Oh, we are international. Yay, Grayson.
I was going to ask you, Hallie, what we heard.
Yep, he is there and getting settled in by the moment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is
We miss him
wonderful.
already. We miss him already.
Yeah,
Keep your sticky fingers off the goods over there.
it wasn't the same without you. That's great.
John Dodson says, I've come to feel like I'm spending a lot of time pursuing things that aren't my true talent. I resemble that remark. Like my true talent is yet to be discovered. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Wow.
There's something really fun about being a jack of all trades, though, right? But I feel you. I mean, I spent way too long trying to be a tenor saxophone player. That's for sure. That was just ridiculous. That had nothing to do with my calling here on the planet.
Now, is there any skill or anything you wanted to do but you just never even tried it? Like, I wish I knew how to fix something. Like, sometimes I walk around my house and I'm like I think my dad could fix that in like 10 minutes. And I'm looking at or my brother, if I call my brother, he could fix it. I'm looking at I wouldn't even know what tool to get or what.
So if you could have one thing that you could just be the master of, like it could be just siphoned into your brain, that would be it. Like a mechanical
Just
engineering ability.
It's the ability and also just the confidence to start on something. I remember my dad and my brother would just be like, "Oh, I don't know. Let's take it apart and see what we can do." I'm like, "Take it apart? Are you crazy? Stop! No, we'll figure it out." I mean, I'll just throw the thing away and go get another one. I love that ability to just, or you can just, I have friends who'll just call somebody and say, this needs to be done. I'll be right there with them, and they'll say, "I need to do this." I'm like, "Well, good luck." I don't know, call some person over there, just put it together. Like, I'm very impressed with that type of. But I guess that might be sort of like a jack of all trades. Well, I don't know.
But if you could master one thing
I don't know if I'd waste it on
immediately,
that.
would you? What do you think it would be?
Oh my God, what would I do? Gosh, what would it be? Well, maybe that, because that would be a handy thing to do.
Oh, is that the criteria you're using?
Well, I would get some benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was like a great watercolor painter or something, who really care? They come over.
I would want some of that in my life. What do you think yours would be, Dad, if you could master one thing immediately?
One thing that I haven't already mastered?
Well, I don't know.
My one thing is to learn how to play this stupid thing.
I want to be
I want to take this home so I
a
can.
master on the kazoo. Boy, the genie would just be like, "Oh my God,
Wow.
eye roll."
This is what I slept 800 years for?
All right, so master of all trades. Would yours be?
Well, I don't know. I think it has something to do with wanting everybody to love me.
Mm.
I don't know how you manage that, but I'd like to be well loved in the world, and part of it is just I'm not getting the word out.
I think you've been a pretty good master of that in your life.
You think?
Now, what would you do if you were like a superstar? Would you like to be loved like that? Like you were just everywhere you went, people were screaming and going crazy for you. Like never got.
Oh no.
You just want people that know you, everybody to love you and like.
I like people that know me to love me.
Okay.
I don't care about the strangers, but those people make me nervous. That's not famous. That's infamous.
There's an interesting dynamic in the show I'm watching that, in line with what you're saying there. This it's called Hacks, about the stand-up comedian. Anybody watch that at all? But she's been a stand-up comedian her whole life, and she's an older lady now, and it's all about her sort of finding her new voice. And she ends up doing this sort of more confessional style of comedy and talking about her own life and holding herself to account and just gets this solid hour. And it's like a whole new voice for her. It's a whole new direction, and they make a special out of it. And it blows up. Spoiler alert.
No, is this a fictional thing or it's real?
It's a show. Okay. It's a fiction. But the interesting phenomenon that happens is after sort of struggling to get these laughs, like after her comedy special blows up, she goes to do a show, and everybody just laughs immediately at everything she says because they love her and it's funny. So she doesn't even get to tell the joke. She's like, I was just walking my 2 corgis yesterday, and everybody laughs.
Right.
Wow.
And she's like, that's not even the joke.
Right.
And like, she just sort of like shrinks because she's so loved that she it's not a challenge. She doesn't have to make them laugh anymore. They're just laughing at anything she says. And that was almost a curse, which.
That's weird.
But it sort of ties into what you're saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
That if everybody just loved you or whatever, then you wouldn't have to earn it anymore.
Yeah. Well, the other side, I don't know if it's the other side of the coin, but the other thing is that immediately, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be recognized when I go into a restaurant, and I don't want people bothering
Then
me.
why are you doing this show?
You come to the right place, son.
You found your calling. Here it is, Jabberjaw.
It's a good point. And the only thing I can think of to say is I have reached a stage where I'm not going out that much.
Right.
So if they know me, then I don't see them anyway. But I'm talking about when I was a young man like you. I wouldn't want to go where I had to go sign autographs and be known, and I'd rather just sneak in and check everything out and sneak out, and I like that piece of it. So not much about being well known. I would want to share with the world.
I remember, I think it was last year. I think I was downtown Christmas shopping, and I went to this store, and there was like a young lady, working the cash register. And she said, "Are you Kyle?" And I said, "Yeah." And she stepped back. "Me and my sister watch your TV show all the time." And I was like, "Ooh!" I was like, "Man."
I'll bet.
I was like, "That's that was such a weird feeling to know that somebody you've never seen before, met before, watches the show."
So how would you feel if something weird happened and our show went viral and you were suddenly a recognizable celebrity?
Well, you'd have to come to my back porch to see me, so I'm not too worried about it right now.
Right.
To be honest with you, I'm not.
How do you feel about the line of cars lined up in front of your house?
Yeah, well, then I'd have to get me a little chateau somewhere up in the mountains.
We do have pizza here for the celebration. Does anybody want a piece mid-stride or?
I'm just gonna give a shout out to our dear friends at the Art Hive. I was in
Art
there.
Hive.
I was in there a week or two ago, and we were talking about music or something. I asked him if he'd seen you playing the steel guitar thing.
Dobro.
And I told him a story, and he goes, "That wasn't last week." He goes, "That was the week before." I was like, "God, this guy's watched 2 in a row." I was like so proud. I was like, "Man, I want to give him a big hug." And then he actually remembered, "That wasn't this week. That was the week before." I was like, "Man, oh man."
That's great.
Yeah, we owe it all of our success to at least the 15 people that have been watching us all this time. And I'm just kidding about the 15 because it is interesting. Every once in a while, you'll hear somebody say, "Yeah, I watched you the other night, and it was really interesting," and you never thought they would ever have watched it. So it is that's the beauty of what we're doing on Facebook. You just don't ever know.
Right.
But the real beauty that I would talk about tonight is what we're going to, people think, we've done 100 shows, well, they're just in a can. No, we're going to have some people, we're going to hire interns to come in. We don't have to hire them, they're going to sign up. Interns are going to come in, and they're going to study all those and put together all these AI story books. You could do a whole documentary on some of the things that we've said about different topics. And we could just and of course you'll be in charge of that because you're doing all that AI stuff. But think of all the times where in an hour and a half, in an hour and a half, I think all 3 of us, and even Lex, will say at least one thing that's halfway intelligent. And if you take all that
Odds are
100 times, you have a show of semi-intelligent conversation. So I think there's a lot you could do with that. And it goes on and on and on. That's the beauty of it, just like the Carp Guide shows. We say it's 100 shows, but that's 100 forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even imagine going back and watching number 22. I wonder what it would be like.
Number 22.
I bet I could. No, I probably wasn't that good even then.
So we've done 150 hours of shows? 100 times 9?
I guess so.
Wow.
That's enough to train AI on. Let it take over from
That's
here.
enough to drive a person crazy. Wow.
Ooh, Kether said her skill. That's interesting. My wife and I have the same skill we would acquire. Because I was going to say, surprising even to myself, piano.
Wow. I thought you knew how to play piano.
Well,
A master.
Oh, a master pianist. Okay.
but see, you're staying in the same vibe. Though.
I know. It's definitely
That's
not that fun.
that's not too big a deal.
It would be a big deal for me to be able to
Like I would like to be
be a
able.
master of piano. I mean, that's profoundly different than what I've been doing.
Then would there be jealousy between you two? Who got the bigger shows and stuff? Would y'all perform together or what?
That's a good
The two master pianists. Who do you want to book, Catherine or Nathan? Ah!
They're both masters.
One's playing on this side of town, one's on the other.
She'd be headlining the theater across the street.
I can't follow them both. What am I gonna do? Would you like? She'd come on at like. You'd come on at like 9, and she'd come on at 11 or 7 and 9 or something. Would
You got to flip those.
would you compete
on the
against-
night owl?
Would you compete against each other?
I don't know. For what?
Like who's gonna
For
draw
the
the crowd?
adoration of all the piano lovers and.
Or do you like just travel together? Has there ever been like a show of just two pianists playing at the same time?
I don't know.
Who's got the quietest audience? Yeah, well, nobody did anything in my show.
Now, what would you do if you you got down to it? You're like, all right, we're not gonna compete anymore. You're world class. I'm world class. And then you start hearing about the funny stories she was telling in between hers. It just hit every single time. Like, oh God, no! I should have taken the storytelling part as the because I must have added in a part I didn't know about a master piano storyteller. Why didn't I think of that? Somebody call Kyle to fix this. Started the piano.
Call Kyle.
Who's that man out there getting all the love? That's your dad. Oh, okay. Here I am, a great pianist. Nobody's paying attention because they're all out loving my dad. He's in the crowd taking all the attention away from me.
See, I would love to be able to fix things like you were saying, but I've never wanted to practice
Yeah, that's what
fixing anything. If there's something broken, I just walk out of the room.
That's exactly what I do. I don't need that anymore.
And, you know,
I've had a toilet that hasn't worked for like 6 months. I just don't use it. Like whatever.
and the other, you know, other little boys over there taking it apart and putting it back together, and I'm out hitting the ball or you know looking at birds. That's just not me. So I've never really wanted to, you know, I've never felt like I was lacking in me. It was a conscious decision.
Yeah, we're all capable of learning that if we had really
Yeah,
wanted to.
I mean, some of us would be better than, you know, some of us have a natural knack for different things, and some people, and that's all about curiosity. That little boy that wants to take it apart, he's trying to figure out what's going on. There's not a damn thing wrong with that. That's beautiful. But I didn't have it, but I had it in other areas. So, you know, everybody's got their own places to be.
It's so fascinating to me how people are born with almost an instilled curiosity or whatever it is that's going to lead them down their path in life. And it's for those that don't have that sort of born with this sort of insatiable curiosity that on a particular thing, that's the one thing I would wish upon anybody, because as soon as you have that, you're set for life to a certain extent. Your community can come from it. You're always going to have something new to learn. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's music or writing or sports or teaching or whatever it is. Like once you've got the hook in you, and if you're not born with it, you sort of got to find it. Like there's a lot of young people, I think, that have no idea, that haven't heard their call. But boy, once you hear your call, you're sort of set. The rest sort of takes care of itself, because you're just like, all right, well, I want to be a magician. Well, now I need to learn. Oh, you're a magician? Will you teach me?
Right.
Like your community comes from it. Your everything, and there's nothing worth doing, and there's a million options, but that isn't endless in how you can grow in that direction. But it's just so fascinating to me that the way people are born, you call it a gift or a curiosity or whatever, like how that happens is so fascinating to me.
Well, let me just amend that just a little bit and say that it's also true, and I think about my teaching career, when I look back on it, teaching was the perfect thing for me. I had a control. I loved figuring out how to present something, and there were just a lot of things about it I liked, dealing with people and all of that. But when I started teaching, I didn't know anything of that at all. I had been.
It wasn't like your call from a young
No,
age.
I was
like,
teaching to get out of Vietnam.
Right.
I was trying to get a deferment, so I just backed into it. So, and my point being, a lot of times in life you don't really have when you're 8 years old, you don't really know what that calling is going to be, and you've got to test the waters around you, and that's called growing up and making mistakes. And you just got to know when to say, no, this is not me, or this is me, and follow that. You got to follow the lead of it. You got to predict and go down that road, but it doesn't always just appear and is there all of a sudden. Sometimes you just back into it.
Right. And it sort of ties in with what Dotson was saying about the jack of all trades versus the master. Like, because you'd like to say, well, if you don't hear your call, you can just choose something and commit to it, and that'll bring forth all the things we talked about. But then there's got to be a sort of deeper anxiety that you've not chosen right, that there was a call that you now can't hear because you're so preoccupied with the choice you made.
Well, you have to be alert to whether you're making the right call as you go along, too, yeah. Because you could think something's your right call, but it was calling you loudly in one way, but not enough ways for it to be truly what you're wanting to do. But yeah.
Well, one thing about that I never really thought about, it's like going to work. Like I have no passion for what I do at all. I work, but I love, actually, there's 4 or 5 people at my work that I just love. I would be miserable if they weren't
family.
there. It's like just going to work. Like I rarely just wake up and go, I just can't do this today. It's not because I love going to work, but it's like the laughter and the emails, joking, just kidding around. And I thought when I was at home, I worked at home for a year, it's like that part was missing, It's just that, like you said, sense of family. Like, these are my friends. So I'm sure a lot of people do work that they don't really care about, but just that's their community,
And can't stand their coworkers.
Oh, that's the worst. You can't stand somebody.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny. I see these things on YouTube. Like some 25-year-old guy standing there saying, "Never knew my best friend at work would be a 55-year-old black woman." It's like they just start going to lunch together and they hang out all the time and stuff. It's like, so I'm sure a lot of people that don't really do what they want are rewarded in different ways. And I read an article last week that it's not good to ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, which I don't agree with, because I don't think that drills into their head that's what they're going to be. But it's like you sort of said, people don't know what they want to do. Like, they shouldn't. Like, what do you want to do? I want to be a policeman. Like, to me, that's just a kid blurting out something. It's not like, oh my God, I remember when Granddaddy asked me when I was 8 years old.
Right.
But they were saying it just leads them down to, like, they should try to decide what they want to be, which I didn't really agree with the article, but I guess that's a new way of thinking about it. Just find some people you like. That's all that matters.
But it's important.
Yeah, if you had to go to work and work with people you couldn't stand, that would be, even if you love to work and you're with people you don't like, that must be miserable.
Well, and then there's a lot of jobs that don't have any personal contact, too.
Right.
And I wouldn't, some people like that. Some people, that's a healthy thing, and others it's not. You just got to know what you're after.
Extrovert thing.
Like you say with the nurses, or where you're dealing with answering the phone and dealing with people that aren't being nice because they're frustrated. That's not an easy thing to be able to do every day. But somebody's got to do it.
But just think of all the bands that putting out great music and then they just can't get along. They break up because it's just not worth it anymore. I can't get in this van with you one more time. I'm gonna kill you.
It's more common than the other.
Yeah, I can't. If I have to hear you, doing that call one more time. I'm just gonna jump out on the interstate and kill myself.
I saw a documentary that was so good the other night. I pretty much watched it all again the next night, showing Cather some of my favorite parts of it. But it was about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's called Heartbreakers Beach Party. What a great band they were. They were just such a great band. It's so brilliant, and just the camaraderie between them was so palpable.
Right.
And they just really seemed to realize how lucky they were, and how just they just had that wonderful energy the whole time. But one of the things that I really loved about them was their music was not that complicated, which really sort of is such great fuel for young people's dreams or whatever, because they could really watch Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and be like, I could do that. Whereas you watch Eddie Van Halen, you're just like, all right. You know, like some bands are just so great, like it almost like cuts you off. But I feel like there's something about the Heartbreakers that was so accessible, and I bet that just really inspired a lot of people because of that accessibility, which is an interesting phenomenon, I think, too, in terms of I don't know if I have to think of how to say this, but there is this phenomenon where a lot of really popular bands aren't that good. And that makes sense because people can see themselves in them. And it becomes more inspiring to them because of that. Whereas if you have someone that's just a prodigy, it's like, like there's something.
It's that old married piano duo again.
Oh, they had a genie grant a wish. I don't even care. I don't have no genie.
But I understand what you're saying. Like you're amazed by it, but it's just not even fun to watch because you'll never be able to even get close to it.
Right. And any band that's successful is going to have a certain genius to what they're doing. There's something that they're doing that is above average, but it is also really interesting how bad popular music can be because it's popular because it's bad.
Right.
And go ahead.
That's why the state of hip hop is where it's at right now.
I wouldn't know much about it.
Well, it's just all the SoundCloud rappers and stuff doing the like trap music, and now 10, 12, 15 years later, it like still everybody's just doing the same thing. I mean, there are definitely outliers that are killing it, but it's just gets in this weird loop of nothing's changing and no one's really inspiring anything different. Just all like on the same thing.
I mean, I definitely observed it in my life, and that was the revelation that I had after watching it for years. I'm like, why are they huge, and they aren't, when they are obviously way better, like just way more talented, worked harder, like, and then I was like, oh, because the crowd can see themselves in that other band, and that's just more inspiring and more fun on so many levels for people. And I was like, that was like my eureka moment on that.
Yeah, with hip hop, it got dumbed down so much that it was like anybody could do it, and so everybody tried. You know? And a lot of people had some success, you know, if only for a short time. They all hit a peak, you know, of their own, because it actually was easy.
I was just reading this thing about 10 great unreleased albums, and one of them, well, this is true, Mariah Carey did a grunge album.
Oh, wow.
And it's like when she was really popular, she just wanted to get away from that, and they released it under some other name, but they just had the backing. She did some background vocals, but supposedly there's a whole grunge album of Mariah Carey.
Interesting. What was her alias?
Well, it was going to be done under her name. It was, but now then they I forget what that album actually came out as.
Remember when Garth Brooks did that?
No.
Came out with like the darker alter ego?
Oh
What
wow.
was his name?
That's a good question. I can't remember.
Chat, help us out.
Let's see if Percy
All you
knows.
Garth Book fans.
Thank you, Diana. I got a happy 100th in here.
But sometimes I'll just be listening to an album and I'll ask people, "What do you think?" I never heard of it. I was like, I'd never. It's like because I go shop and just buy stuff by the covers and just the labels and stuff. But it's like, how did this album never become huge?
Mm-hmm.
It's like and I'm sure everybody has ones that are like, man, y'all are morons for not knowing about this. It's just that there's so much out there.
Chris Gaines
Chris
was Garth
Gaines.
Brooks' alter ego. We watched La Bamba last night.
Gosh,
You ever seen
you're
that?
going back.
The Richie Valens story. Oh, it's so sad.
I don't know if I ever saw the movie.
Oh, wow.
Great movie.
I think you'd love it.
Really?
Diamond Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Maybe I did.
No, was Los Lobos, were they the band in that?
They had a cameo.
Oh, okay.
Los Lobos was like the band playing in the bar that when they were representing like the authentic Hispanic band, and he was in there, and they played La Bamba, and he's like, light bulb moment.
Oh, I thought they played his band.
No, it was a cameo.
No, if that's one of the bands. All right, now I can't think of the name of the band. It's like it's the members of Los Lobos performing under another name.
Oh, they had an alter ego?
Oh my God, it's some of my favorite albums of all time. God, now of course I can't think of the
The
name.
Amusement opened for Los Lobos once.
Oh wow.
We were both on the High Sierra music label, the only two bands.
Wow.
On High Sierra's short-lived record label was Los Lobos and The Amusement.
Cool. What's the name of that band?
But boy, the Richie Valens, like that story. I mean, it was just you knew where it was going the whole time. It was just so sad because you knew that he was on the plane with Buddy Holly when it went down in the Big Bopper. It's
Big
just
Bopper.
such an amazing factoids. I mean, Richie Valens was 17. Buddy Holly was 22 years old when that plane went down.
I can't remember the Big Bopper's big hit.
Chantilly
Lace and
There
pretty
you go.
face, and wiggle in her walk.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the band, the Latin Playboys.
Oh, really? That was Los Lobos?
That's 100 times better than Los Lobos.
Oh, wow, but it's them?
Yeah, some of the members. Oh my God, just heartbreaking, beautiful stuff.
That's something to look into.
Yeah. Oh, when I first heard that album, I didn't even know who it was. I was just like, oh my God, this album is killing me. But then they went on to die in a plane wreck, so what could they do? So were you alive when the plane went down?
Mm-hmm.
The day the music died.
It was like 59. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Was that like your 9/11?
Well, that was just a single tragedy for a few people. They weren't that famous at the moment. Buddy Holly had a #1 hit. He was a big one. And of course, La Bamba was hit Richie's only hit at that time.
O'Donna.
Oh yeah.
They were actually flipped A and B's of the same 45.
Is that
I'm pretty
right?
Sure. But
Yeah.
Now, who
but
was the guy
his
that was
first song that was a hit was before either of those was "Come on, come on, come on, little darling," again and again and again and again. I'm messing up the melody, but did that get you there?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, come on, come on, little darling. Da, 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 da. It was 1959. You nailed it. February 3rd, 1959.
That's the day the music died.
Yep.
How old were you then?
12.
Oh, wow.
Was that like big news? Was it in the papers? on
Oh yeah,
television
it
and
was
stuff?
front page news. Yeah.
Buddy Holly really had left quite a legacy for
Buddy
a
Holly was
22-year-old.
already famous,
For a 22-year-old
and he was just a kid, yeah.
to have many songs that are still in the canon.
And he was right on the cusp of rock and roll breaking loose. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Now, have you seen the new documentary about Jim Morrison still alive?
What?
If somebody's done a documentary, like tracked him down or something, they say he faked his death.
One of these is going to be true someday.
Oh, wow.
One of these is going to, someday, one of these stories is going to be true. Someone's going to fake their death successfully, and it's going to be revealed later. Elvis
Now,
Presley's
do you think
been
Andy
in,
Kaufman's passed away?
yeah. Andy Kaufman, it makes so much sense that he would do something like that. Did you watch it? Do you think Jim Morrison's still alive?
I think it's brand new. Like it just came out like a week or two ago, maybe a month ago. I mean, it would be. I guess you could, but it'd be hard to keep that secret for a long time. After a while, you start itching to get back into it. You know, like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I really liked making music. You sit in some little cafe somewhere.
It's so interesting how with the advent of the internet and now with AI, maybe AI will help in some ways eventually. But, you know, at a point in time when we have so much more information at our fingertips, you would think that we would all be less susceptible to hoaxes or
Right.
things like that. But it seems to be the opposite. Like the existence of the internet's only been like a petri dish for weird ideas to really become more prolific and more widespread.
Right.
Like the flat earthers, I don't even know if they would exist without the internet. It's just an interesting.
It's funny. I must seem like all I do is read about people that. There was back in the 20s or the 30s or something. There's a new book out about this. She was a gospel singer, or not a gospel singer, like a religious, just a religious singer. But she was huge. She was from Canada. She toured all over the United States. They're like carnival, or whatever they side shows and stuff. But just huge. People would follow
Amy
her.
Grant?
This is back in like the 1920s. And so she was just huge, and she got so big, she got divorced from her husband, which was a big thing. She was just a religious person. And then she went to California, and she was doing radio shows and stuff. And she started dating somebody that she shouldn't have been dating, like the head of some studio or something. So she swam out in the ocean, and made up this story that she just disappeared for a while. So people thought she was dead, but then she came back. I think she was trying to get away because her career was starting to be ruined by this story she was hooking
Scandals.
up with this guy. So she goes out to the ocean, and she's just gone. So people assume she's dead. So she's in the papers, she's dead. And I haven't read the book yet. I just read the review of it. But so then I guess she said, I got to get back in the music business. So she came back and said that while she was swimming, she was kidnapped. And she went like for months trying to get people to believe that somebody kidnapped her out in the water and didn't let her go. And then people did some reporting and stuff and found out it was like a big hoax that she just tried to like people would feel sorry for her and get, let her be because she's having this affair. I was like, man, that's just like I have to somehow get out of this situation I am. I'll just say I was kidnapped while swimming in the ocean.
So that's a true story?
Yeah, there's a new book out. There was a book they said written in the 70s about her, and this new author's gone in and just dug up all this history of her. But they said she was on radio shows all over the country. Like when she would perform, they would broadcast it all over the place. Of course, the way my brain works, I have no clue what her name is. So.
Sounds like it'd be a fun movie to make.
That's why when I was reading it, I was like, there's got to be. Because at first I thought it was a review of a movie. Then I kept saying the book, and I was like, man, that would be a. Now, what's the movie about the woman that couldn't sing that went to Carnegie? Was she in Carnegie Hall? The woman she was like that socialite that would have those parlor parties and sing. I think the guy from The Office was in it. He was her manager.
Oh, I don't know that.
Got her booked somewhere, and she was just an awful singer, but she had enough money that she could, people were like, "Oh my God, you can't sing." But she sort of became like a celebrity because she was so terrible. But she didn't know she was terrible. I think the movie is sort of maybe sad because she believes that she's really good. Somebody has
That's
seen
ringing
that.
such a vague
Somebody
bell.
has to have seen that. Let us know.
Boy, I had a rough. It's been a little. I'm glad we've had so much fun talking because at the beginning of the show I was like
This is
wanting.
gonna be fun.
Well, no, just like the stuff I had to talk about was all like for the last 3 days I've had this terrible gout attack. Yesterday was like the worst. He had to bring me.
Both of you.
He had to bring me crutches.
Oh man.
Both of you have it.
Today I go to the mouth surgeon and they put these cameras in my mouth and I got to see my teeth all up and way too close. Like I just didn't need that image in my head. And then we get home and we're setting up this beautiful set and Catherine goes to take a shower and all of a sudden it's raining in the basement.
Oh, no.
The guts of our shower blew up there and it's leaking through the floor here. So everything's just falling apart around me.
my
My
God.
body,
Y'all handle stuff
our house.
well.
Oh, we do?
I mean, if that happened to me, I'd have been like, "Don't even come over to my house. I'm gonna." If I knew how to fix something, I would do something.
I'm Kyle. I've got to leave for a while. Shower's not working. I'm going up to Steve's.
This is Kyle been kidnapped out while I was
So I
swimming
wish I
there.
could just call.
I'm
wish
in
I
the
could just-
ocean.
I wish I could just call you to come fix it.
Call John Dotson.
Well, I know a little bit about it.
But I'm confident I can fix it.
John
Let me
can
see.
fix it. He'll find somebody. who can
Just the
fix it.
confidence to even go into. I totally lack confidence in everything, but that would be such a good. Do you know how to do this? No, let me roll my sleeves up and get in there and see what I can do.
Entropy, man.
Wow, you've handled everything really well.
I know, that's what I'm thinking, man. I'd have been.
Is there? I mean, I guess it's like the. If I was to ask you, what's the bright side of entropy? What would you say?
The bright side of entropy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like a life cycle that's a positive thing.
Well, how are you using the idea of entropy?
Just that
Just everything breaks
anything
down.
organized breaks down over time.
Yeah.
And it seems like just such a, like, in my body, it's like just such a horrific, tragic thing. In our house, it's a horrific, tragic thing. It's like, it's just,
Well, it does add to the idea that you can start over and rebuild and do it better the next time.
you're exactly right. It was like, Catherine, we both have this gift, I guess. One of the first things she said was, well, I was thinking about getting a new thing in the bathroom. Anyways.
Perfect timing.
Should we get a bathtub? I don't know. That's a good point. It's a new opportunity. I guess it's not necessarily as true with our bodies, but with homes, there is that possibility.
Well, it just is the natural way of things, and you know, one way you could look at that's why life was developed. Life was born in moments where chemicals decided, for whatever reason, to the way they reacted to each other, to fight entropy and to build something. And then a little bit more builds up, and that's called evolution. And here we are today.
Right, and that
So that doesn't happen without the entropy
force or whatever is the flip side of the coin of entropy, creation.
part. Exactly.
And it's just as strong.
Not
Yeah, but-
always, you know.
No.
It has to be in a life situation for the most part.
What do you mean?
Well, to fight things naturally break down, but some things chemically naturally come together too. So that's, but you know, when I look at the whole idea about life, I see it as a fight against entropy, to try to build up something that can last, that's more. So, but in the process, that's redoing it. That's that birth and death thing. That, because part of what you're saying is why do things have to die? You know, why can't we just keep getting better?
Right.
And why do we have to just end it and start over with other new life forms? But that's just the way we were. That's how it ended up. And there are some life forms that live for thousands of years, but they probably are thinking, why do I have to live for thousands of years?
You know what? We could use up in here
There's
is
a
some
damn
entropy.
sequoia tree out there, 3,000 years old. I'm bored as shit.
Now, do you think getting older you accept that more, or do you fight against it harder?
Both. Yeah, one day you do one day you do
What was
the
the
other.
question?
As you get older, do you fight that natural thing, or do you accept it more? And he said a little bit of both.
I think it depends on you, your situation in life, and that type of thing. You know, part of that is the idea of that I was thinking about is we were talking about with the gambling. It's about hope and seeing if it, if you just think it's all going to break down, decompose, and it's not going to, there's no hope. So you don't feel like doing it anymore. You just give up. And I think that's what happens with aging is, do you have hope? And, or have you given up?
Right.
And some things I've given up, and sometimes, and some things give me hope. And obviously, things in the world can take you one way or the other. But I think everybody goes through that. I think the one thing you talked about earlier with nurses, how what they do is they understand death is part of the whole process, and they get that, and they still have hope for mankind. And that's the beauty of what they can do. And actually, it's the beauty of a human life at the end, when you see people that are still good and still being and still themselves all the way to the end. They have hope. And whether that hope comes from their religion or their faith or the belief in man or stupidity, whatever causes it, it's a good thing.
Seems to be like a classic archetypal thing I've seen in so many movies, this argument over hope and like whether or not hope is a dangerous thing or whatever the context or the situation. Like, don't give them hope. Like, there's always this character that hates hope, and they have this conviction against hope that I don't know if they're ever not proven wrong in the movies or whatever, but that idea I've seen a lot.
But there's a distinction between what you're saying and selling of hope. That's what that's what this gambling is all about. When you go into the 7-Eleven, you see those guys over there punching their tickets. I mean, there's a store over there that exists just for people, and these are not rich people. These are poor people that are spending their extra dollar to buy a lottery ticket.
Right.
And the lottery ticket is this week. It's their only hope. I do that when I'm betting my ball games. I'll bet $5 on the game, or wager my fantasy wager, and then I'll put $1 not a parlay, but a long shot, like 1,000 to 1. Well, I don't hit it, but if I do, I mean, I've got it gives me hope. So I put $1 in for hope, and that's what all this gambling I see advertising. People are trying to, they're going to hit the big one and get out of this place they're in now that they don't want to be in. So you're selling hope.
Right, you're selling hope. And hope is a great way to manipulate people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what I see happening with television, sports, and gambling. They're abusing that terribly. And we end up with a society based on gamblers and alcoholics. Sorry, that's what's happened to you, America.
But it's also like the Venezuelan prisons. They just beat the hope. They don't beat it, but your hope is just taken away from you.
Oh,
You're a docile, maneuverable beast because they've just taken the hope out of you.
You just reminded me of the movie that made me say that, even though I've seen it in so many different movies. But it was an inmate that this somebody, a lawyer was like, we're going to represent, like, he's been in there for 20 years or whatever, but there was some new reason for them to get back into his case. And like, we're gonna try to get you out of here. And the last thing he wanted to do was hope.
Oh yeah.
Because
so much pain.
he'd already done that. He'd already hoped, and that, like several times over the last 20 years, something had happened that gave him hope. And because that failed, ultimately he was just so crushed because he had that hope, and then it didn't work out. And so when they came back and like, well, we're going to try to get you out this time, the last thing he wanted to do was hope. And the lawyer was cool, like, look, I can hope enough for both of us. You just stay where you are. Keep doing what you're doing, because like I feel what you're saying, and I don't want to inspire hope in you, just in case you're right and it doesn't work out.
Oh yeah, to have a vision or a dream and then realize it's not going to work out, that's crushing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a little trouble with it, these athletes, and I know they're trying to do the right thing, but they'll tell a little kid, they're making $5 million playing a poor second base, and they're telling some little kid that just give it all you got, you can overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes and no. I don't know about that.
Right.
Because are you giving them false hope?
False hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
But on the other hand, you are giving them hope.
Right.
And you're not doing it for any nefarious reason. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
But I think you could be careful. You have to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's what we need for like fixing things. Maybe it's not confidence. It's just the false hope that I can fix it. I don't need confidence to do it. I just need to be like, I can probably fix this. They get in there. It's like, well, no, you couldn't. Now it's going to cost you twice as much as you. But a lot of things probably do get done because you just have false hope.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in myself. I can do it. Now, one thing, talking about, things falling apart and stuff, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Why does time get so much faster as you get older? Because I was at work yesterday, and this is the end of April, and I thought, the end of April, Christmas was just like 3 weeks ago. And it used to be like a school year where it was like you were 19 by the time you got out of like third grade. It took so long. Now I'm like, how did 4 months go by quicker than I could? It's like, no, it can't have been 4 months yet.
It's because you're having so much fun.
I just don't. Maybe it was like
it is a phenomenon that I don't think.
I thought we had done 12 of these shows personally.
Oh, Kyle has a misprint. This is episode 10. He meant to say. But do you all think that time just starts speeding up when you get older?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like a common thing. But what makes your body or your mind think that?
I think part of it is you're conscious of time. I think when you're younger, you don't even count. You're just living and doing.
No, but
it seems like that would make it go faster when you were younger.
I think
it seems like it would go slower when you're older.
Yeah, like school, there's like the summer vacation starts in 3 weeks. I could have lived 5 lives and died 5 times before those 3 weeks passed. It was like never get there. Like you're crawling through sand to get to the summer. Oh, summer, Now I'm like, all right, we're going to go on vacation in 3 weeks. The next thing I know, wait a minute, that was 2 months ago. I've already done. How did it fly by so fast?
I don't really know how to explain my thought on this, but I've thought about it a lot, and I still can't really sum it up. But it's just, it seems like when you get older, your perception of time is you know what 20 years feels like when you're 40. You've done it twice.
Okay.
And so you have all this perspective. I don't know, and maybe I still don't understand how that makes time go by quicker.
Right.
But it does seem like when you're younger, time goes by slower.
Yeah.
Because I guess you don't have anything to reference it to. It's all just new.
Right. Oh, maybe. Yeah.
But then, I don't know. But I feel like it has something to do with just as you get older and you just have more experience with life and time. It just starts to speed up. You
Like,
realize
like I
the
wonder,
day's already over.
I wonder if they had like a room and put a 10-year-old boy in a room and a 50-year-old man, and they left them in there for like a month. Like, how much time would they think would go by? Would the 10-year-old said, I must have been here like at least a year, and the man would say, that was a nice overnight sleep, you know?
That baby should do that experiment.
If we have any volunteers, I can lock in a room for a.
That's the only problem.
But I
Because
can't
the
tell
data on that would be
yeah,
fascinating.
and I can't guarantee it'll be a month.
But
can't-
you know, it would be interesting data just in a couple hours span or whatever.
Oh,
If
yeah.
like psychiatrists really wanted to conduct an experiment
Right.
on what an older person and a younger person's perception of the passage of time,
Right.
even just sitting there and every 10 minutes or whatever being like, how much time do you think has passed?
Right.
Yep.
Would be really interesting.
Oh yeah.
But it's also like when I get up in the morning and I hit the 9-minute snooze button. As soon as I hit it, 30 seconds later it goes off again. Like, wait a minute, that wasn't 9 minutes, you know. But then if I'm at work and it's 4:55 and I get off at 5, it's like it's got to be 8 o'clock by now, you know. It's like, why did time just? Oh, I mean, time is a messed up thing.
Definitely the more you stare at, like you say, like if that when you're waiting
Right.
and watching the hands move, it seems to take forever, no matter how old you are. Dustin says 1 year is 50% of 2 years. When you're 10, it would be 10% of your life. When you're 100, it's only 1%. Therefore, the perception is that time is moving quick. That's fascinating. That's basically what you were saying.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's
that's-
kind of what I was.
Stephanie says responsibilities make time go by very fast.
Keeping busy, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, relative to the percentage of your experience, Josh says. That's it. Screenshotting.
But so let's say when I was, I don't even know how old I was when this started. When I noticed time was speeding up. But do you think it gets worse and worse the older you get?
I definitely feel like it's like after 40 or something, you really start to be like,
Right.
wait a second. It's like a phenomenon that just you start being aware of. Like how did that year go?
Yeah.
What
So
the thing that's killing me right now is like a few years ago, I heard this lady give an explanation for that phenomenon that I was like, that is it. That is brilliant. And I cannot for the life of me recall what it was she said.
So this is a phenomenon everybody pretty much experiences.
I don't know. Dad hadn't said much on the topic. Is it something that you...
I think time can go very slowly when you're old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having trouble with my sleeping, and I'll wake up at 2 o'clock and know I can't go back to bed. I don't know what to do for the next 4 hours, and time goes very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about perception of me paying attention to it. Like you say, if you're busy doing stuff, if you're out there living your world, you know, I don't know. I just think it's very subjective what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have nothing to say. I also have a problem because I'm going to have to go to the bathroom,
Oh.
and I'm not sure what to do. So I think I'm going to try to go upstairs, but I don't know if I can.
I'll play the kazoo.
You probably Kyle on kazoo.
You get a solo.
Watch your head here on the string. I'll cut the light on.
So 20 years, you lived 20 years and 20 years.
Should I get in front of you or behind you?
Behind, I think I can make it.
Should we eat pizza on screen to take up time? For our 100th anniversary, not our 100th anniversary, for our 100th
That's exactly
show,
how I got up there earlier.
Nathan ordered pizza. Catherine ordered pizza. So if you were here, you could join us for a slice. We told you there'd be something special on the 100th show.
Oh, wait. Grab his mic.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tune out yet.
Good call.
Hey, Percy, you want to come sit in Dad's
Hey,
chair?
Stephanie. Hey, Roy. Hey, Kirsten. Who else watches this show? Hey, Dana. Hey,
Justin and Josh.
yeah, Dustin. Oh, gosh.
Catherine's out there.
Swaby.
Well, it is time for the leaving song,
Yeah.
but I don't. He probably wouldn't mind if we went off air without him, but it doesn't feel right, right?
Oh.
I don't know, maybe that makes it that much more unique.
Man, I know.
Where did we go?
It's like the big episode of Dallas or something.
I now understand why he was his eye roll for the last 10 minutes.
I don't care about time.
He's like, I don't know. Right now, time is moving very, very slowly.
I don't think the show will ever end.
What do you-
Detroit just tied it up. Let's go.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
No, is this a song we get to sing along with, or is this a
Oh,
non-participation?
you can. All my songs are sing-alongs, and you can dance to all of them. They used to come up when we'd be playing in the joints. They'd be like, "Play one we can dance to," and of course we would try. But in my head, I was thinking, dance. Then we started playing California, and they proved my theory that you could dance to all these songs. You can dance to all this stuff. Everyone should go through a little interpretive dancing phase.
I love it. We were supposed to dance at work this week, and we never did.
What do you mean you were supposed to dance at work?
Every day we have, like, not every day, but most days, me and the people I hang out with, we like I'll say, today, every time we see each other, we have to yell, "I love you." So we'll just be in the hall, "Love you, love you too." And everybody's looking at us, "Why are y'all yelling you love?" One day we wore, like, I have a friend that worked in Colorado, and he ran, like, the school, all the janitors for the schools. And he retired, so he sent me all their badges. So me and friends were just walking around work all day with these pictures of these guys that we had no clue they were, but said we were part of the janitor crew. And people were like, "What are those badges you have on?" But we'll just come up with something. Every time we see each other in the hall, we have to high five, and nobody else knows what we're doing. They're
So what's the dance strategy?
Well, one of the girls just said, today we're gonna. At one point in the day, we're all gonna get up and dance. I was like, "Oh, I'd love to dance." Like, okay, but then we haven't done it yet. I guess tomorrow's the dance day.
You want me to do that?
Percy, love ya.
Hey,
All
buddy.
right, so I have to get up and dance to this one.
There you go. Dance party.
I suck at playing kazoo, so they moved me over to dancer. No, we can't have you on an instrument. Can you move your body at all?
What was the line in that show Hacks last night? She was like, "I was so competitive when I was younger, I stole Cher's backup dancers. I'm a stand-up comedian. I don't need backup dancers." Yeah, the last step's weird.
All right, you guys stand up. We're gonna dance.
We did it! 100! Ding, ding,
Oh,
ding, ding,
is
ding.
this my little diabetics emergency stash here?
I feel like they're like fried chicken or popcorn or something weird, right?
Maybe I thought maybe kept them from there in case I ever had a bad feeling I could reach over and get
Oh,
them.
maybe both.
Or is it just telling me to take my nasty candy home when I leave? Kyle, nobody wants this. Take it home with you.
I feel like I still have to try. I don't know if that's the one I didn't try because the month you
didn't
brought
try the
it,
hot
I was
dog.
the hot dog. Yeah, I want that.
The fried chicken was
Lex,
one
even after the sound Lex just made, I still am curious. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Congratulations. Good job.
Good luck
Did
finding what
you
you're
use
good
the
at.
bidet? Oh, I want you to use it.
He stepped into the shower though. You didn't see him come down over there real quick.
I use ultra soft.
Yeah, we definitely have
Oh
that.
my God, we forgot about that. I was gonna wipe my butt on air just to show people how soft it was.
How would that work?
Like,
See how soft it is?
see the look on my face? This is soft.
That's another ad campaign for that. Dad, hit it out of the park selling the Ultra Soft Charmin. But just close-ups on people's faces would be an interesting campaign. Before and after.
Show me your poopy face.
Some may say, if I was chasing my tail, then it got away, therefore I failed. What they don't know is what they can't see. I'm not chasing my tail, it's chasing me, said the dog to the flea. On a summer day, oh glory be, the month of May. Every time I shed a tear, you get stronger, you come near. When the sky is blue, away you run. I see myself in you as I reach for the sun, said the willow tree to the waterway. Oh, glory be the month of May. On me, and you take what's sweet, then you fly off like we never did meet. Say you don't mind, that's all you need, and wherever you wind, you take my seat, said the flower to the bee. On a summer's day, oh glory be, the month of May, and the willow tree to the waterway, oh glory be, the month of May, and the dog to the flea. On a summer's day, oh glory be, the month of May. Hey, beautiful dancing. Yeah!
Yay!
How about that?
We are 100!
You know, the thing about 100 is the most amazing number. You never thought about this, I bet. 100 is the only number in the world that's less than 101 and more than 99.
That's exactly right.
Good
You know, I
grief.
never thought about that
Think
before.
about that right before you go to bed.
I'm gonna write that
You'll
down.
stay up and time will slow down.
That's what I was going to say. Time has slowed down when you think about that.
Yep, that's what'll happen.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Y'all are all cool. Stay that way.
Your life can be so boring you can live forever.
Guys.
Nailed it. Think about that.
Got to take on that thing of perfect happy life.
Sort of. Wait, what was that called?
To live a happy life.
Oh, happily ever after.